NotebookLM is a free AI tool from Google, which allows you to research, organize, and plan out ideas, thoughts, and information that you have into an organized, structured notebook, and then ask questions about that. I'm going to show you exactly how it works in this video, and I'm going to show you how it eliminates three of the most annoying things that AI often does, and that is make mistakes, hallucinate, and create false information, and it also has a bias towards whichever direction you seem to be going in at that time. NotebookLM eliminates all of that by getting quality sources that are provided by you. So I'm going to show you exactly how it works and how it can really help you to speed up workflows, create content, organize thoughts and ideas. So let's get into it. So first we need to go over to NotebookLM website. There's a link in the description. You can click on that. Make sure you're signed into your Google account, whichever one you want to use for this, because that's where these notebooks will get stored. Then we want to click on Try NotebookLM, and it will bring up this window. Now you won't have anything here at the moment. You'll just have a blank screen. You will have some notebooks here that you can check out made by Google and other companies. What we're going to do is you're going to click on Create New Notebook, and it will pop up with this window asking you to add sources. We'll come back to that in a moment, so we can just close it. So let's take a look at how the notebook works. Very simple, which is something I really like about this. If you're worried about AI tools being complicated, this couldn't really get too much more simple. Let me show you and talk you through it. So on the left side, we've got sources, and we work left to right. So we start with the sources, we add them in, and then we can chat about those sources and ask questions and get information from them very quickly. And then we move over to Studio, which is where we create our outputs or our assets, if you like, which is things like spreadsheets, video overviews, podcasts. We can create flashcards, quizzes, infographics, all kinds of stuff. I'm going to show you all that in a moment. We can collapse the notebook using this little tab here. We can rename the notebook up here, and once we've added some sources, we can actually click this little icon, which will be populated, and we can choose our own icon for the notebook. We can also go up here to customize notebook. And what this will do is it allows us to override the default description that NotebookLM will give to our notebook based on the sources that we're going to add in a moment. So we can override that and type in our own description of the notebook if we wish. But NotebookLM does a good job of creating a decent description for us. Don't generally need to do that. So we can add our own sources, as we saw a moment ago with this window here, which we'll come back to in a second. We can also have NotebookLM search the web based on a prompt that we give here. And what that will do is it will add in websites. It's like doing a Google search, but it will try and qualify websites as having either authority or trust. So it will try and give us good sources versus the common thing that large language models do, which is use the research that they've been trained on, which may or may not be accurate and may or may not be any good. So this will try and find us good sources, but we can add our own. Let's do that now. So I'm going to jump over to another notebook, and then I'll show you how to do this. Okay, so here's a notebook where I've added some sources. All we really need to do is we need to click on Add Source. And for example, I'm going to add a YouTube video. So what I'll do is I'll go here, and it gives us this window. Now, if I go over to YouTube and I find a link to a video, let's just say this one here, we click on it, share, copy, back over to NotebookLM, paste in our link. If we want to do more, we just hit enter and then paste another one, and then we insert it. And you'll see now it's just jumped into the sources section. So I have a whole bunch of sources here. I have a PDF manual of the Sony camera that I own. I have a whole bunch of videos about the best settings, and I have an infographic which I created over here. And that infographic basically is a cheat sheet, if you like, of common settings that I can just refer to really quickly. You can see the quality of what it's created there. It does that in a few minutes and requires really no input from you except the sources that you provided and a prompt. So you can create really great slides and all kinds of stuff for your videos if you want to using NotebookLM. So if I go back to sources, let's click on one of the videos. This is a video we just added. What it's going to do is it's going to provide us with a summary of the video. It's going to provide us with different questions that we could ask and we might find interesting about the video. It can show us the video in the NotebookLM itself here so that we can watch the video here if we want, or watch it on YouTube. And then it's got a whole transcript of the entire video that we can use to talk about in here. So let's go back to our main sources panel for now. And let's ask a question in the chat then. So we've got our sources in here now. This is all that we want to use, let's say. If we want to deselect them all, we can, or we can deselect one at a time. And what that will do is any sources that are selected will be used as part of the chat to get answers. If we deselect a source, the chat, the AI won't use that source for this particular conversation to answer our questions. So let's say for now we want all of our sources and we want to say, what is the best picture profile? Now, sometimes you'll change a setting on your camera and you'll think, oh, what was that setting that I wanted? And so you can analyze all these videos and get NotebookLM to tell you what most of these videos say is the best picture profile. And here we can see picture profile 11, of course. This can give you an answer to a question based on all of these sources here that would have taken you quite some time to find, because you'd have to find a video that talks about this specifically, if they don't all talk about it. Then you'd have to find where in the video it was. And then you'd have to find, well, do they all say that or do they all say something different? And then that would take you how long? And I did it in, what, a few seconds. So the great thing about this is it's a massive time saver. It's a fantastic research tool. And what it does is it shows you which videos it got the information from through these little numbers. And even my infographic gave this information. So we can see that there's multiple sources used and we can see exactly where. Now, in some sources, YouTube videos don't work too well, but if you click on it, it will take you to the video that gave you that information. On some sources, it will also show you the exact text where it is, but YouTube videos with the transcript doesn't seem to work that well because it's one big wall of text. I don't know. Anyway, it does show you exactly where it gets the information, which is fantastic. So you know, you can check then and see if it's actually trusted. Now what we can do here, if we want to clean things up, we can click here and we can put delete chat history, and that'll actually take away all that conversation that we just had. If we click here, we can actually customize with our own prompt how we want the AI to respond. So we can actually have, let's say as a YouTube growth expert or whatever it is you wanted to have in here, you can customize the actual response it gives you in the way it talks to you, and the length, longer or shorter or default. I just leave those as they are. Okay, so now on the right side here under Studio, we can see that we have a whole bunch of options on things to create. So if we click on the arrow of any of these, that will give us the options. So let's click on the little arrow by infographic, and that will bring up the options window. And what we have here is a aspect ratio that we can choose. We can obviously choose a language. NotebookLM can actually translate other languages as sources and answer questions in your own language on, let's say, a Japanese document or whatever it is that you put into your source. So it's a translation tool as well. Here it's asking us which visual style we want to use. Let's say we want to use, I don't know, clay. And then we have concise, standard or detailed response. And then we have what we actually want it to do. So let's say make an infographic with the best settings. And then we can hit generate. And what it's going to do now is it's going to start generating an infographic. While it's doing that, we can look at some of the others that we've created already, or that I've created. So here's a mirrorless camera guide. Let's see what this looks like. So there's a kind of more cartoony style one. It's basically created this document with all the common settings, basically. Now, imagine how long that would take you to draw out. And you could easily use this in a YouTube video, right, as an explainer. And you could create multiple of these, or even a slideshow up here. And we also have, for example, this mind map where we can click on different parts of it and it'll actually tell you the settings based on what you select here. So we can see all of this. And as you can see here, it's going to tell us some more information in the chat window. We don't need to worry about that, but let's go back. So there's a whole bunch of different sources that you can create in here, including things like podcasts. Now, if you create a podcast, what it does is we can see this explainer here, for example, but it's going to create an AI generated podcast, basically, with either one or two hosts talking about the subject that you've selected based on the sources and whatever prompt you've given it. And that's going to allow you to, for example, create a podcast and then go and listen to it, say, on the way to work. Now, if you left click on here, you can download it or share it, as you can with all of these. It will save all of your sources when you close the notebook, so you don't need to worry about it. It didn't used to, but it does now. So you don't need to worry about it. For some reason that one failed, probably because I'm clicking on other ones, but we can retry that. But they take a few minutes to generate. So let's come back in a moment when it's generated. Okay, so we're back, and here's another one I've generated, which is with professional settings. And this one shows, as you can see, the settings, the things you want to consider, with a different look than the previous one that looks a bit more cartoony. So you can create some really good stuff, really great assets for you for presentations or for YouTube videos or whatever it is you want to do. And you can play around with these because there's quite a lot of different things, but you can create a quiz if you're studying. You can select the difficulty, how many questions, what it should focus on, all kinds of stuff. So you can see that by putting in trusted sources, you're getting trusted information out into the chat window. And then that information can go into your studio output with whatever you want to create. Now, the conversations in the chat window don't have any effect on the output in the studio window. It's only the sources that affect the output. So what you can do is, if you particularly liked this response here, if you scroll down, you'll see some options. And one of those is save to note. And if I click that, you'll see it generates a note over here, which is now all the text in this conversation in a separate note. Then what we can do is we can click this little icon here, and we can save the note or convert it to a source. And if I do that, you'll see it pops up over here as a source now. So a conversation that we have in the AI chat window can be saved as a studio asset to download, or we can bring it back in as a source and then use it for further conversations or further creation of studio asset. Now let's look at one more notebook I've made so you can see an example here. I've made one about houseplants. So I am good at killing houseplants. So what I did is I did a web search this time, and I asked it to gather information on the most common houseplants, right? And here's a whole bunch of sources it came up with. And then we can obviously ask it questions, but what I did was I created an infographic, and I told it to create something that showed the most common plants, how to water them, soil types, and how much sunlight they need. You can see here it's made this infographic for me in just a couple of minutes with just the sources that I provided, or it provided, in fact, this time. And I think that's really nice, and that could be really useful. So, I mean, you could print that out, stick it on the fridge, and you'd actually have somewhere to find the information you need when you're wondering, what should I do with this plant? You also have a Android and iPhone version of NotebookLM, which you can obviously refer to on your phone, so you can have this on the move as well. One last thing you can do is you can click on this dot here, and you can go to view custom prompt, and that will tell you the actual prompt I used, or you used, to create the asset that you've created. So there are so many uses of this. I can't go into all of them. It's basically limited by your imagination, and you could do so many things, so many creative things with this. I saw a post by a guy that said that he was going to have a baby soon, and he had a load of books on how to look after a newborn baby. He put them all into here, and then he has a whole resource. So if something happens, if the child gets sick, or he wants to know, what's the average it should be eating or whatever, all you've got to do is go into here, do a search, and it will provide you with the information immediately from all those sources, rather than trying to check through random books and try and find the information when you're stressed and worried about something. Another great use, you're going traveling, you're doing a road trip, you have multiple different hotels, different flights, car hire, all this other stuff. Drop all the emails into here. Then you can ask it, create me an itinerary. In an infographic, you could tell it to create me slides of each day to tell me what I'm doing each day. And you could go in and search, I can't remember what time I can check into this hotel. Just go in here and search for it. It's all there. So, I mean, really, this is limited by your imagination. And it's completely free, so you've got nothing to lose by checking it out. Hope that's been helpful. There's going to be more NotebookLM videos coming on this channel. So if you like this, subscribe, hit the like button, leave me a comment, and let me know how you use NotebookLM, or how you plan to use it if you don't already. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Thanks for watching.